and ability for the advancement of this district and the benefit of all of our community and fellow citizens. The Coorong District Council members acknowledge and pay respect to traditional custodians of the land and waters, the Nurrungeri people, whose ancestral lands are on which we meet today. Acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationship of Aboriginal people to country. Pay our respects to elders past and present. We also extend that respect to all First Nation people. Thank you, everyone. My first item on the agenda is apologies. I understand we have an apology from Councillor O'Hara. Second part is acknowledgements. I'd like to acknowledge the passing of a Tailem Bend resident, Muriel Vanderbilt, AM. Muriel was a celebrated Indigenous artist and has been recognised for her services to the Indigenous community through promotion of art and culture and as an advocate for social justice. Councillor, she is no longer with us, Councillor.
No, I didn't know, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Item 3. Declarations of conflict of interest. Has anyone got anything they wish to declare at this point in time? There being nothing, I move to item 4, ordinary confirmation of minutes, ordinary meeting, including the confidential part held on the 16th of May, 2023. Councillor Qualman, you're moving that way.
Thank you.
You're a seconder. LeBland. Is there any discussion? Being not, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Also, there's the minutes of the special meeting held on the 29th of June 2023. Can someone move that way, please? Councillor Roundtree. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bland. Any discussion? Being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously as well. Item 5 is adjourned business. There is nil. Item 6, reports by members. 6.1, the Mayor's report. Is there any questions around that? I intend to discuss at the next meeting the going to the National Assembly of Local Government in Canberra. Councillor Coleman, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May the 3rd media interview with ABC South East 3 local roads and community infrastructure program, please.
A long time ago, Councillor.
Oh.
So that was a confirmation of round what's called phase 4B. I think it's called phase now. It confirms the local roads and community infrastructure. They've dropped the P off it, by the way.
Okay. All right.
Which is still for us to allocate at some point. I think that's what that's about. A long time ago, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, my apologies.
No. My apologies not being able to remember.
I should ask before.
Any other questions, councillors? There being none, I move on. Other councillors' report. Councillor Maidment, do you want to add anything to your report?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. If I could just quickly add that I thoroughly enjoyed going to the Local Government Association meeting in Adelaide. That was great. And yes, the community events that I've attended were all very good as well. I think some are coming up in the next report, but yeah, and it was a thrill and an honour to be the first time I lay a wreath Anzac Day at any of our locations. So it was very, very good. Thank you.
Myself as Mayor would like to share that job around, particularly the early starting ones.
Yeah, it was good.
Okay. Councillor Qualman, you're the next one I can see. Can I add anything?
No, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Roundtree?
Nothing to add there.
That's that. I'm done. Thank you, everyone. Petitions, item 7, I have nil. Deputations, I have nil. Ashley, don't I? None. 8. Public question time. To the best of my knowledge, we have no public questions today. Number 9. So we move to number 10, decision reports. Item 1, South Australian Coastal Councils Alliance 23-24 membership. There's a recommendation, councillors. Someone prepared to move that way? Councillor Bland, are you doing that?
Yeah.
Is there a seconder first? Councillor Qualman, Councillor Bland, yes? I thought I heard your voice again. Councillor Roundtree,
I just have a couple of questions. Thank you, Mayor.
certainly.
Can I also move that the answers be recorded for the questions I want to ask?
You can, I think. No, you can't. Course of debate, so
Okay. What does that mean? You can't.
can't. It's in the course of debate. It's not a question.
So if I wanted to ask specific questions that I wanted recorded, I'd have to ask them in questions without notice. Is that correct?
Yep.
So you can't, just to be clear, I can't ask them as we get to each item?
You can ask them, they won't be recorded,
I thought you could move to have the answers recorded.
only with questions without notice. Provide me with the questions.
All right, well, they're not that complicated. I just feel like these should be recorded. So just on this one, what are the consequences of not renewing the membership for our council?
See,
This is a group, again, and council is a member of several groups similar to this. And it's in recognition of how collectively local government across South Australia, and in particular those with similar characteristics, generally get better outcomes if they're seen as an advocacy group or lobby together for the issues that are facing those councils. It's probably the strength is in the numbers and the debate for specific issues. Councillor Bland is the member for that, and Councillor Bland may have a view as well, but for $2,000, we wouldn't get any work done in this particular space or have any input if we weren't a member of this council. So it's about that collective view of working together for this issues that are similar. And in this case, it's about coastal councils.
I guess I asked the question, I heard a presentation on the weekend from a researcher who had commented that there'd been something like $400 million, I think it was, Mayor, you were there, spent on understanding the Coorong in particular, and that nothing really material had benefited. And so I was wondering, with the SA Coastal Councils Alliance, is that connected to what we're trying to achieve in the Coorong? Is it different? And like, where's the benefit for it? That's all.
so councillor, it'd be different, I suggest. I think nearly half of the state's councils are coastal councils. So I think in representing issues around the coast, therefore sometimes perhaps being a different bodies, to say the Coastal Protection Board, for example, which is a statutory body from memory. I think it's important we have something. We have 106 kilometres of coast, very unusual, and we don't have any ratepayers at all coast. So if we were to keep in contact with any coastal issues, this is one way. I think for some councils it's important around boat ramps or jetties as well, or sand erosion, or climate change. Perhaps a different way of looking at it is should the 5, 6 river councils also be involved in a similar alliance around the money we get through the Boating Facilities Fund, for example. So I think without being there, we sort of probably not very good collegiate idea, but I would take your point about the amount of money spent on the Coorong that may not have ever benefited the Coorong itself, but this is the coast, not the Coorong in effect.
So just further that then, so what have been the outcomes in the last 12 months? Do we feel like do these amalgamated groups? I guess what I'm seeing is we have a lot of these groups and getting together of regional areas or different councils. Are we getting cut through with this approach?
So Councillor Bland, have we managed to have any discussion from this group?
Unfortunately, for one meeting, I've been away, and so far they've been looking at strategies and policy again with this new with the new committee. But in relation to the Coorong, Coorong itself, strip of water we're talking about, and the conversation that has just happened, the Coorong, there was meetings in Meningie last week that I attended in relation to that. And it's not that they don't have strategies around the Coorong. At this point in time, they're still considering whether or not there will be pumping. And that then will affect coastal areas And I imagine this will come in to be quite interesting as to whether that
Hmm.
goes, if that goes ahead. And there's no guarantee at that yet. So, I mean, there are a whole number of books. They're all on the website around the Coorong Healthy Basin projects. And that was presented in Menangie last week.
That was
And then-
presented as to the Coastal Alliance, was it?
No, it was presented to community.
So, but this, the
Um,
Coastal Alliance is slightly different, sorry, councillor.
Coastal Alliance is different, but this is the only thing that for our area at this point, that and the Murray Mouth, that will have some impact.
Mm.
The Coorong itself is another body of work that is done by a different
Different-
set of scientists, etc. So yes, there's a lot, particularly around erosion. If you look at Kingston, there's a good example.
Councillor Arthur,
I have attended a couple of these meetings, and it was decided some 15 months ago that this rely heavy on trying to get funding for jetties. Now, this year they did actually get $20 million in the budget, which is about enough to do Kingston, I think. You've got places like Tumby Bay's jetty has been shut for 7 or 8 months, and it's about $26 million, I think, job to fix up. But that's what they are, virtually a lobby group to try and, as a council, to get these money. So you could probably say they're a little bit successful, because I think the year before it was about $2.5 million for jetties. And so it's up to 20 million. So where that'll be spent, no one knows.
Thank you, that's great.
anyone else? Okay. Councillor Bland's moved and Councillor Qualman seconded that council approves membership of the South Australian Coastal Councils Alliance for the 23-24 financial year. We'll close, councillor.
Closed.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimously. Number 2, Bendigo Bank Service Menangie Information Hub. Can someone, look, we have 3 people representing the Bendigo Bank. I'm not on the right item, aren't I? Someone suspend meeting procedure for 10 minutes, perhaps?
Happy to do that.
Councillor Bland, is a seconder, Councillor Roundtree, just, is it all in favour? Just so that we can welcome them to the meeting and ask them to come forward. They can probably all come forward to a mic right now if they would like, until Councillor Peach turns up. Kelly, can we just sort of facilitate that?
So there's a spare seat up here. There's one there.
Kelly, Louise and Fiona, I understand. No, bad luck, one's missed out because
Yeah,
Councillor
sorry.
Peach.
Maybe they could.
Speak at the well, you can speak at the lectern, girls. You don't have to be so shy, but come down this corner over here. Laps, whichever way you wish, just that. We've just suspended meeting procedures for 10 minutes, councillor. Peach has arrived.
Thank you.
Quicker time. And Gil, yes, welcome it. Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for allowing us to present at this council meeting. I am Louise Johnson, the Financial Services Board that runs Bank. We are very excited to be able to offer banking services to Menangie. We've been starting from next week, and I'm just going to tell you very briefly why. The community bank started 25 years ago in King. It started 10 years. It was hard work for the initial committee who had to go around getting community support. We raised about $805,000 to start the bank. And since then, we have been able to give nearly $500,000 of back into our community. The reason we started the bank was to future-proof our town and make sure that it was started in the hospital was having problems, and so it has allowed us to community, not just in Keith, but through Bordertown, Mundalla, Hathaway, Tintinara, and now we hope to be able to same support in Alphen and the surrounding areas. We believe that banking should be personal, that it should support the community, and that people appreciate face-to-face banking. So for one day a week, we hope that we can down and service that. I think that's all you need to know about the community bank. We're here to serve the community. It's a volunteer board. We have paid staff, obviously, in the branch, but we're all volunteers. We just believe that we could make cakes, cake stalls, or we could help with banking and support other groups. Thank you for having us. I'll
Kelly,
just hand over.
certainly.
Thank you for having us today. So my name is Kelly Nankiville. I'm one of the board directors and also engagement chairperson. I was approached by Councillor Peach in regards to potential banking services within district council. And I was very happy to see the council's interest in getting banking services potentially to either Mountain Meningie. So I put this information back to our board and it was a unanimous decision that we look to stretch our services to Meningie as we've been looking to get different areas on board and we are looking forward to next week and just with the Community Engagement Committee and the grant side of things, this will also be a chance for the Meningie committees to apply for these grants and then have money go back into services for our community as well, which
Beautiful. I'm just going to give them the free advert right now that next Wednesday, the 5th of July, between 12 and 2, sausage sizzle, fantastic, at the Lions Park at Meningie. Councillors and everyone that's listening,
One of the questions, Mayor, I
just
had.
hang on,
Oh, sorry.
hang on, we got one more speaker.
Oh,
I think.
sorry.
No, it's a three-way. Welcome.
Fiona Wilkinson, I'm the branch manager of Eden, been there. And prior to that, I was the branch manager of the community bank over at Sunshine. So I've got, and before that, I've basically a career banker, so banking. I really love the community bank concept because it's more about just banking. It's about being involved in the community and really seeing business and the income we earn from that banking business go back to the community. So much of banking income actually goes back to shareholders, that local community. We've actually looked at expanding our footprint for quite some time, so we're really excited to be down in Meningie. And we're basing this on a very similar model that our road branch down the southeast actually operates with Lucindale and with Beachport and with Kingston. And that is to bring a banking service into the town, and it is a cashless service. So it's, I think when people do think about banking, that's what they think about, water banking and cash transactions. But to us, banking is more than that. We've got the lowest number of traffic and cash transactions at our branch in Keith than anywhere else in the state. But we've got one of the biggest growth, and that's because we're very big on our relationship banking and also our opening hours. So our branch in Keith is open 9:30 to 4:30 every day, and we don't close for lunch. On Fridays. So, and that's really our key point of difference for a lot of banks that are operating these. And the board have really supported the vision that we need to be open to drive the business through the door. Working for us, and also by driving the business through the door, we're getting that that. But part of our business model down here in Meningie is our customers can still operate their cash services through the local post office, and we met them yesterday and they're quite excited to still have that interaction with the client. And then we will look at doing, business banking, agribusiness, home loans, opening up accounts, internet banking, having that face-to-face contact, which is really hard to find in a lot of towns. And then from there, we will be engaged with the local schools. We've done a Save a Life program, which is the private education down in the southeast. We've been supporting that for the last 7 years. So we want to bring that into the Menindee area as well. So there's lots of things that we're really excited about, growing our footprint and growing our business. By Menindee coming on board and asking us for our business and we're the money back. So, and when we talk about Menindee, we're talking also about like the Coorong area. And hopefully it's not just going to be Menindee that will be focusing on.
All right, thank you. Yeah, just don't leave the lectern yet because councillors may have some questions. Councillor Roundtree, you've
You
indicated.
did, so you answered one of them, which was how, I think Kelly did before, how the money comes back into the community, and you're saying you'd like through a grant process where people can apply. Is that just for Menindee people or do other towns?
No, we open up better for our wider community, and we see our community running basically from Border Town, to now we'll be up to Tailem, down to Menindee, Hathaway. So we have a couple of programs. We run a grant program, and that needs demonstrate that to the benefit of the wider community.
Yeah.
And then we also have a sponsorship program, and the sponsorship is more the smaller monies which go to local clubs and groups. It might be season sponsorship, so we're sponsoring the Longcats this year.
Yep.
And it might be the art group that we do exhibitions up there. So we have a little bit of funding, and we do a little bit of donation, sometimes goodie basket to help with local fundraiser, the support. So we've got sponsorships run all throughout the year, and the grant, we have a grant.
So with increasing your footprint, would you look at other towns for a day service similar to Menindee, like Tailem or other, Tinty, Canalpin, those sorts of?
We wouldn't say no.
Yeah.
So the model that we've got at the moment is very cost effective for us. Having a cash facility, there's so much more involved with security, cash delivery, staffing, premises. So that's why we've come in as in a soft way, I suppose, but it's still very important for the banking business, for the community. And we would never say no that we wouldn't open up, but we just thought when we looked at this, we've been talking about trying to get another location for some time. It was probably a bit too close to me. So yes, Menindee seemed to be the best town in the area do this service, and there's no reason why we couldn't put this down the track. So not in our immediate plan, but we wouldn't say no.
Councillor Bland.
Sorry, could you just expand on how your communication strategy across the district so that people are aware of your new service and how they might go about that process, given that it's not easy. We don't have any one method of communication.
So first point would be visibility. So the information centre down at Menindee is very well placed. It's on the opposite side of the road to most of the businesses there, so it's got good visibility, great parking. We have spoken regarding signage and without kind of encountering the building and making that branch, but we wanted to have set signage, and we have talked about the windows flash on one of the windows, so that's constant. We want to engage in our Facebook and like in the area. We've done letter drops, which we've done today in key locations, and so those drops at we're also looking at radio, both Follow FM, and there is another radio station here that goes towards all the Flurio at the moment. We're also looking at, we've been approached by the Stock Journal, to a piece, and also by the Late Night.
Okay.
So that's how we might want to get out there. And then in another month's time, we're planning to do another mail drop for the residents in Menindee. That's okay.
If you're looking at the wider, smaller communities such as Canalpin and even up here to Tailem, their newsletters would be ideal too, to make sure it goes into both the Tailem topics and Canalpin.
And we're also, we've spoken at
Thank you.
Councillor Peach.
Dorothy Dixer. Could you talk about some of the grants you've done recently into Tintinara and Canalpin?
in, we, now can show actually put somebody into some, infrastructure, small infrastructure, so that was a, there's 3 items they had.
The bowling club. The Tintinara Bowling Club, the dishwasher.
Yeah, they've got a push-through dishwasher there.
They have the roller and also the Lions Club, the generator.
Yes, the Lions Club, the Tintinara Lions Club with the generator. They can. We've got me on the spot there. Just trying to-
That's. Talking about the board town. The aerodrome.
Oh, okay, so we've just pledged $40,000 to go to Watertown Rotary, and they're doing a patient transfer building for the flying doctors to fly out patients to Adelaide, so they need so they're not doing it out in the open. So we're really excited about that. That's one of our ones.
Playground.
Playground redevelopment. We've also pledged $50,000. And also the Tintinara Golf Club. That's one of the things now.
Yep, and I think
Tables and chairs.
player.
And the play.
Yeah.
Or a play equipment.
Pretty wide ranging list there, isn't there?
There is, and really it's only as good as the application.
Sure. Any other councillors with questions that aren't Dorothy Dix's? Councillor Maidman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to get back to the agenda and just ask the question. Obviously, you've set up the opening day. So it's answered one question as whether it would actually proceed if we didn't waiver the fees. That's what the agenda item is. The grants and the sponsorships that you do, and it's all fantastic. So it's very worthy. I'm just wondering if your profit margin allows that. How does that work? So your profit margin is what gives you the grants and the sponsorships from the business of the banking, because after all, you're still a bank. So I guess my question is, why should ratepayers pay for it, for you to set up in waivering of the fees?
So we've worked really hard, and we like the key community bank to actually when we actually opened the margins were quite low, so we had to work probably double as hard to actually get some income through the doors as we would have had if we opened up 10. We're very lucky that we've got a very strong rural bank book, and we were the second largest rural bank lender for Bendigo Bank, our branch in Australia, so which is a really big feat, and we've got a lot of work to actually build our rural bank book, and that's actually given us a bit of breathing space for the income that we receive from that business. So we've just gone through our budget process for next year, and Bendigo do oversight everything we do. They're very much involved in our business because it is a franchise. So we are in the country to own and operate the franchise of Bendigo Bank, and they are very much involved in all of our businesses. So we're very mindful of all the time. We've had a very full staff, and we've got a very healthy budget going into next year. And I think and we're always very conservative with our income budget and overestimate our expenses, but year on year, we've always achieved our budget. Yes, you can. So
You're looking at long term. It wouldn't just be
Definitely.
12 months and then you're gone, or,
No.
you know, it's definitely going to be built up over, and not necessarily just in Meninga, as you said, you have said perhaps other areas.
long term, and I did want to Menindee and have us there one day, 1 week, and then the next week say, oh, we're sick, we can't staff it.
Yep.
When we're there every day, like every week of the year. It's not going to be a hodgepodge. We are committed to open up that office.
Yep.
For us not to turn up, except for the week between Christmas and New Year. I did the emergency.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah.
to say that the waiver, I think another way I've looked at it is we've worked hard in Ariara to build up that following of the bank. Moving down to Meningie, we come down with no customers. So we can
Zero.
like bring out that profit or whatever. But that 12 months will give us a chance to get a business base in this area where it becomes self-fulfilling. I think that the people who bank with us, that helps to build that profit, and then that money, can come back into. So I think it just gives us the leeway to come down here and get going.
Yeah.
Once we've got.
I'm just being devil's advocate and trying to represent all ratepayers, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful or nasty. If someone's got to ask these questions, it's usually me. I just don't think it's fair that Tailem Bend, excuse me, Penalpin and all the other towns and ratepayers in those towns have to pay for that, the setup. Can you understand the waiver cost? I know it's only $2,000 a year to waiver that, but I personally won't be voting for the waiver, just so you know, because I don't think that's right. But that's not anything personal against anybody. I just don't think, because I think setting up a bank has to happen, but given profit margins of banks, I don't think it's fair that ratepayers should have to pay the fee waiver, and that's what's happening.
Okay.
So
My
there's my
last-
comment there.
The last question will be from councillor Peach, and then we'll return
Can I
to the
just-
debate.
I know the figure was mentioned briefly before, but the percentage of the profit from the bank that goes back to the community, could you just highlight that again?
80%, so we don't hold on to any profit. 20% goes to our shareholders that comes in to get us money, and then the 80% goes back. So we're not a not-for-profit because there's different criteria to be a non-profit, but all of our profit goes like back to the community, either in shares, dividends, or.
All right. I think we've had a very good go. Thank you, ladies, very much for your
Thank you.
your presentation. We'll now resume debate. Councillors, there is a recommendation. There's two parts. The councillors indicated that you will not be able to support one, so I'll take that on board now. But if there's a mover for both of them, I'll take it first and foremost. Councillor Peach, you're moving
Happy to so move.
the recommendation as it reads. Okay. You're a seconder. Councillor Roundtree, you're the seconder.
Yes, and I'll just say something when it's my
In a
turn.
minute. Councillor Peach, you want to lead debate? Or
If I may, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I think the waiver for 12 months to enable the setting up of a community branch on the terms discussed is a really good option. As just highlighted, the majority of the profit does go back to community through a grants process. This will be open to all residents of the Coorong Council going forward, whereas historically, due to the footprint of the bank, it's only been available to those in the southern areas. And I certainly support this move. Every success in the undertaking they're doing.
okay, councillor Roundtree.
I think what's convinced me this is probably the right way to go is that it's only for 12 months. 80% of the profits are coming back, and they are taking a risk in setting it up in Meningie. They do need to build their footprint and get people to bank with Bendigo Bank. And hopefully we'll get enough people doing this that in 12 months' time, they will be able to pay the lease fees for that building. But I think this, this is a show of good faith on their behalf. It's a show of good faith on our behalf to get something up and running. And hopefully in the 12 months' time, we've got enough people there that's made this decision worthwhile. And I think that we need to really encourage people to consider their products are and how they can service them.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Bland.
I would just basically concur with what's being said, and I see it as a positive move for the next 12 months and see how we go. And I guess from my point of view is more about the communication so that people know this service is now available and what it will bring to the community overall, communities of Coorong.
Is anyone else? Councillor, I'm going to read the recommendation before you close. So the Recommendation is that council would point one, waive the fees of $51 per week, 12 months for hire by Bendigo Banks Community Bank, Keithan District Branch of a meeting room at the Menangi Information Hub, commencing on the 5th of July and concluding on the 26th of June, 2024. And point two would be to undertake a review commencing in May 24, the intent to develop a memorandum of understanding between council and the community bank around that. Councillors, Councillor Peach, you close, will you? You'll close. I therefore ask you to vote. Those in favour? Those against? So Councillor Maidment voted against the motion, and as she indicated, and councillors Rountree, Coleman, Bland, Peach and Arthur voted for the motion. So it is carried. Thank you, ladies, for you coming up. Much appreciated in the middle of winter. And all the best with your endeavours. I don't know if I can get to the sausage sizzle, but I wish you well.
That date there, that's also the day of the NAIDOC Meningie event?
Yes,
Okay.
we're aware of it. but
Very busy day.
The busy
Very
day.
busy day, yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Big event.
Through my diary, councillor. Number 3, Murray Lands and Riverland Local Government Association 23-24 Annual Business Plan. There's a recommendation. Is anyone, councillor Arthur, you are moving that way. You're very good. Is there a seconder?
I have questions.
Yeah, just see if we can get a seconder first. Councillor Maidment. Councillor Arthur, you want to speak to the blue
I
business?
think it's a very full document. It takes some reading, but I think that they know where they're going.
Perhaps I might just add, as your delegate to that organisation, that probably 2 or 3 years ago, the then board, or many new members as delegates now, new mayors, decided to enhance the profile of the service and therefore the staffing level of the organisation. And fair to say, incumbent there now is definitely doing that to the best of her ability.
I think that probably the other thing is, Mr. Mayor, you agree, it's a pretty new forum at the present moment with, you'll be one of the few mayors left when you're standing, you and Caroline.
One of the last, I'll use it politely, older mayors. That's for sure. And fair to say in the last 8-10 months, we've had quite a few challenges with 5 mayors being directly affected, particularly by the floods, of course, and various other electoral issues. It's been quite challenging, but if council goes forward this, I'm pretty sure we can get it into a very good organisation. Councillor Maidment, do you wish to speak? No.
Good, I'm happy with the report.
Thank you with that. Does anyone else wish to speak to that recommendation? Councillors, sorry, you did have a question. Yes.
Thank you. So I have a number of things that I just picked up and I
Mm.
got my done a bit early this morning
Mm.
when I rose them, but things that have stuck out to me. The group raises 300,000 a year, but spent 251,000 a year on admin support and an executive officer. 40,000 was spent on the Community Wellbeing Alliance Public Health and Wellbeing Coordination. And what does that mean? And 90 went to, and another 90,000 this year and another 90,000 next year on waste and resource recovery strategy implementation. What does that mean? The net P&L shows an $80,000 loss. Who has to cover that? Has there been any advocacy success stories that you could share with us to sweeten the deal?
Yep.
How is this representation from this group viewed by the LGA? Do they have any push through as a regional group? Are they getting?
Right.
I've got, do you want to answer them as I go?
No, I do want to have it. I want to
Okay.
give Councillor Bland, I think you've been involved in the wellbeing plan for a long time.
I have with,
You wish to sort of add to where that
I
that
haven't
process
since this new council because I'm not actually appointed to be able to do that.
it's changed, that's
So
correct.
it's
yeah.
changed.
Yeah,
So
but-
Miles our director may be able to bring you up to speed on that. But yes, the wellbeing, we did certainly a lot of work around the mosquitoes and a whole range of other wellbeing programs, but Miles will be more succinct and up to date.
Thank you, Your Worship. the key thing with the regional public health plan, so the statutory requirement that all councils produce a regional public health plan, I think every 5 years. And so they produce a public health plan. Is the most efficient way to do that is as a regional body. So all of the councils in the MRLGA came together to produce the second regional plan, which involved community consultation, the writing of the plan, and it's a well-written and professional document. And then they stayed together to create the implementation and the support mechanism. Now, to some degree, COVID and floods have interrupted that activity, and it may very well, hopefully, get going with some steam again soon. One of the key issues we had identified early on was a resource to coordinate all of that activity. And hence there was an agreement with resourcing from the RDA for a coordinating officer. And that's largely where that $40,000 budget was allocated. And they did a lot of work in, coordinating all the councils and all the players, making sure the committee, was disciplined. I was chair of the committee for quite a period of time. And so I think that I took a very strong, any money that was spent wisely. I think, Councillor Bland back.
We had many conversations about how to spend that money wisely and get some outcomes.
So my next one's going to be around as your questions are, councillor, the waste management. I might direct to the manager, Waste Resource Recovery Committee to Matt. But I just probably the important part about the strength of region is the combined regional populations, I think about $72,000 for the 72,000 people. Pretty 72,000 people. Now that's at the end of the day a population of a mid-sized urban council. So, strength, unity is strength is an old debate here. But I think, Matt, if you might sort of embellish where that waste committee has got to, I suppose, and how it might have benefited us, please.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Document is regarding the provision of like a contract manager for the delivery of the waste contract. So where councils are individually looking at now the individual, issues that everyone is having, an overarching contract manager that looks after all of the council's interests in regards to dealing with the waste contract who looks after the collection of waste across the whole region is where that's coming from.
So through you, Mayor, issues that would then go through to Matt, but then go through to this coordinator to do it.
In the midterm, we're probably the first council in the regional contract. It is an opt-in one. So we're probably the lead council, Matt. And so the issues we've been having, the other councils, it's the same thing, is I think another area for us to look at in the future will be community wastewater scheme. It's a big issue for all rural councils, and in this region, the Murraylands and Riverland, only the rural city of Murray Bridge west side and the town of Mannum have a state government run sewage system, for example. So it's like anything, it's a sharing of knowledge and ideas. Bridget, could you just give us a different example of where Karen, our executive officer, has probably advocated quite well in the last 6 months?
So Miles alluded to the fact that the flooding had disrupted services, but the CEO of the MLLGA worked very hard with the state government to get 3 welfare positions and a small grant. Our district council said we didn't want to participate, but we were happy for the resources to go to Mid-Murray Council and the rural city of Murray Bridge. So there was a grant that was a direct result of Karen's work with the state government to get some support into those communities as an immediate response to the flood. So there were those very practical applications of having that leverage that the Mayor talked about with 72,000 people for that specific emergency response. And then you've got the longer term 5 councils with the waste And again, there's those immediate needs that councils will look at on an individual basis, but there is also a huge opportunity to have a coordinated approach, particularly around future waste disposal opportunities, whether it's around how industrial waste is dealt with. If you think about the hydrogen thing coming here and the industrial waste and just general waste that comes from that, there's just so much opportunity in terms of that disposal and how we do it into the future. And that will only come about with the collective might, if you like, of a group of councils.
6 regions in country South Australia, which sent 2 delegates to the South Australian Regional Organisation of Councils, SAROC as it's called. So in that area of governance, I think we do need to do more work. But I think, for example, in our waste contract, it's allowed us as a council to contain costs. Some councils, it'll bring them forward rapidly. For us, it's probably allowed us to contain costs. And I suppose it would be remiss of me to not point out that the region also runs the process for nominating roads for the Special Local Roads Program, and there's the 6 regions across the state plus the city urban areas, and we've done, I suppose, reasonably well out of that format, and presentations coming to the board, that board very soon. If you didn't have regions, 6 regions, you would probably invent them. And the last thing I'd say, I'm looking at Councillor Arthur now, is we've been very fortunate. We've always had a long-term relationship with the Limestone Coast region, which is 7 councils, from memory, in the southeast. And Councillor, you usually attend, or we get to a couple a year, and we sit there at their invitation, and it's probably good to reflect on what they do. They've always been a very powerful region, vis-a-vis what we could be. And the previous, I do refer to the previous board, because the previous mayors probably used that as a bit of a template of where we can go, but we weren't in it, weren't moving to employ lots of people quickly. But there is definitely strength in the region and the sub-region in this format.
Is there advocacy work that this group does?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And while this might be improved no end, I think this area, the advocacy for particularly rural districts within the state government, I think this is almost the only way we'll be able to push certain subjects onto the agenda. That'd be my way of wording it.
Very good response. Thank you. I appreciate your efforts.
Okay. Anyone else got any questions? Councillor Arthur, you'll close, I'd say. So the recommendation is the council endorse the Murraylands and Riverland Local Government Associations draft 23-24 annual business plan and budget. All those in favour, please. Those against, that's carried unanimously. I think the next meeting of the board is the 21st of July, on memory. Which actually, councillors, is here. Sorry, the board has decided to go back to travelling around the region. The previous board, we were virtually always met at Karoonda as being a central position, but it is here, so you're more than welcome to come.
What date was that, sorry?
21st. My memory's good enough on that one. Okay. Next one.
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Peach, yes?
I move that we defer discussion on this next item until after the following item.
You can move, or I can just agree, I think. Can I just make that adjustment? Ash? Well, I'm just bringing forward and swapping 4 and 5 around. I think that's what you're saying, councillor. I don't think we'll need a motion to that effect.
Thank you, Mr.
So we're
Mayor.
just going to move to item 5, please, councillors, which is fee waiver request from Elite Star Studio. Someone want you, councillor, you
I would like to move an amended recommendation that we accept the fee waiver proposal as put forward for the Elite Star Studio, but I also need to, before we move forward, Mr. Mayor, declare a general conflict of interest, as I didn't have the opportunity to do so at the beginning.
accept that, councillor, yep.
And that my daughters currently attend the Elite Star Studio in Meningie. and I intend to stay in the room and vote. But just so that that is publicly not acknowledged.
So it's not an amended one, councillor, since you have the attention of me. It is the motion.
Yeah, so the motion as the recommendation as published, I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not seeking to move that.
You're seeking to move your motion, which
Yep.
was. So. We could, if you could read that again, please, your motion.
So that council offers a reduced hall hire rate of the Tintinara War Memorial to Elite Star Studio as recommended by the Tintinara War Memorial Hall Committee. Do you want me to just do that again? Yep. And sorry, if I could change that slightly, but per session, a session being 4 hours.
So this is different to the agenda, councillors. So the motion from councillor Peach is that council provide Elite Star Studio a reduced rate of $35 for a 4-hour session once a week, the hire of the Tintinara War Memorial Hall during terms 3 and 4 of the 2023 school year. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bland is the first one I saw, councillor, because she's in the centre of my eye line.
No.
Councillor Bland is the seconder. Councillor Peach, you want to speak to your motion, please?
If I can, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the motion as per the recommendation from the Hall Committee. I believe that it will be excellent to reactivate the space in Tintinara for dance, which has now been not used for that for almost 2 years. I'd note using the Wayback Machine, I was able to find a previous higher rate from council from about 3-4 years ago for dance at the Tintinara Hall, which was $30 in the old fees and charges. I do think the rate that is being proposed is comparative to what the dance teacher is currently paying at Meningie for the opportunity to use the RSL hall. I acknowledge it is a reduction over our normal higher rate, but I do believe the opportunity to have weekly activities in the hall and the on-flow to the community of what that will mean, as we've seen in the past, should be supported. Thank you.
Seconder, councillor Bland, you want to speak?
I will not reiterate exactly what councillor Peachy said, but I do agree that one of the things that we need to do in small communities, not only support as we do with men's sheds, etc., but also our youth. And this is an opportunity to support the youth, both from a physical and health perspective. So I believe that and these things do tend to come and go a little bit from our small communities. So the opportunity to keep them there as long as possible for the benefit of the children and the travelling families that wish their children to partake in any of these groups. It's not that we don't see waiver fees going. It's just that some of our smaller communities don't have community centres and that are able to auspice these at different halls. So this community is doing it through a private group. So I support it.
Thank you. Councillor Roundtree.
I'm also going to be supporting this motion, and I think this is an example of why our fees and charges workshop has to probably happen sooner rather than later to really look at what our expectation is for the community. Their request to have a cheaper fee or a reduced fee is, if it was any higher, it would just be passed on to the parents bringing their children there anyway. So this is making it a price that I think hopefully you'll see lots of kids attend, and there are a lot of young children in Tintinara that would probably take advantage of this. And it's not dissimilar to the Canalpin Pool Committee's request to have some of their fees lowered to attract more people in, because at the end of the day, we have these facilities, we want them to be used. And if we can do if it's no really skin off our nose, we should be doing what we can at every opportunity to encourage people to deliver services to people in our towns.
Thank you. I've got a question. Is this the only hall, or do we not have part day or hourly rates for
No hourly rates. And
our halls?
only Tail and Bend has an hourly rate. All the rest are day or half days.
Yeah, it's just interesting. It says here there's no part day or hourly rate available at this hall, so
No.
that's just the way it's always been.
If I may make a personal statement about this.
Yeah,
Any on closing?
no, he makes a personal statement. He's not, personal statement. There needs to be a statement.
I received a phone call from the dance teacher. The request to use the hall had been declined and she was trying to use other spaces in the town. And that's how it came back through this process. The hall is also a suitable place in the township of Tintinara for an activity of this kind. It is the only place with a sprung dance floor. So the other spaces in the town aren't suitable. But I just, wanted that on the record as to how this re-originated.
Yep, that's fine. So we'll record that little bit. Councillor Arthur, do you want to speak or?
Yes, I'll support this motion because I seen the joy that this brought to young men and girls, or boys and girls. Last time I was very surprised at the number of children that took part, and it started off. I think the session at the present moment is an hour and a half, but because of the popularity of it and the young kids that went to 2 sessions last time. So that would make the 3 or 4 hours up. And we charged $30 previously when it was run in 2020, 21. So we're not setting a precedent here.
You a dancer once, councillor? Or?
Sorry?
You a dancer once?
No.
I could see now you couldn't, but I just wondered.
I'm the tango man.
A tango.
Tanglefoot, sorry.
Oh,
getting a visual statement.
Tanglefoot, not tango, righto. Councillors, anyone else wish to speak for or against? There being none, councillor Peach, you'll close.
Closed.
So, move councillor Peach, second to councillor Bland, that council provide Elite Star Studio reduced rate of $35 per 4-hour session once a week for the hire of the Tintinara War Memorial Hall during terms 3 and 4 of the school year. I put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. We revert back to item 4, which is the schedule of fees and charges for 2023-24, councillors. And as you're aware, we will be having a workshop around this fairly soon in preparation for next year. Councillor Rountree, you wish to what?
I would like to just amend the motion, or, well, it's not amend the motion, it's a recommendation, isn't it? So I'd like to move a motion.
You can move in the recommendation, or you've got a slight amendment.
Slight amendment
of
to
which
the
one?
words. Sorry,
What do you want to amend? That's in
the one we're discussing now.
Yeah,
I wanted to say that council adopts a 23-24 schedule of fees, noting that a workshop on the fees and charges will be held on, and then what the date is. And that the fees and charges may change at that time. I think it's important for that to be in the minutes.
For you, Mayor. Difficulty is that the fees and charges are adopted for the year because it's then forms part of the budget. If you are, as your motion stands, you would be asking us to change the budget mid-year to something that's an unknown, basically.
So that was going to be. We've looked at the fees. Can we fees and charges, or does that then go out to 24?
my understanding, this process vastly earlier for next year's, as in 24, 25, not 20, not
Okay.
to amend 23 and 24, 6-8 months in.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, for you, I believe the workshop, but to establish a subcommittee of councillors to
Gotcha.
consider it. And if I could also vary.
Oh, you can't vary yet.
Okay, sorry.
But
No, that was,
my understanding, councillor, and I probably wouldn't accept that last part because that was my understanding, and I would think it would be very complicated to change fees and charges halfway through a financial year.
Well, maybe then we can just leave it at noting that a subcommittee has been formed to review the fees and charges
I don't know, it's a subcommittee, what would we, how do we find out what the
I
the
guess what
decision
we
was?
want
Was
to
it a
know
minute?
is that we, rather than just, I mean, I feel like we've accepted them because we didn't have a lot of prep time to have this workshop and sort all this subcommittee and sort all this out. We'll accept them as they are, but I want it in the record that we are going to meet shortly and directly
To review them.
to review them. But I would
Yeah.
like that, and however it wants to be worded to be in that
So
motion, otherwise I
just
don't feel confident.
look at the
supporting
governance
it.
officer, see if we can find what we decided. I don't know when we decided, it was two
I
or
was
three
trying
months.
to find that too, Mayor. I couldn't
Yeah.
find the actual wording.
So,
So-
Mayor,
so
would it be appropriate to have noting that a review on the fees and charges? Would that just cover everything for now?
Well, yes, I think that'll be better. Will be scheduled in the next 6 months. I think that'd be far better. I really wouldn't accept the other part. I think there's a budget implication, which is an unknown at that point.
Well, I'm happy to change that then to say,
So
instead of workshop on the review of the,
the fees and charges may change if you eliminate that.
so I think at the time we discussed it, we had said then it would be held in the next 6 months, which was probably a few months ago. So should we say 4 months? Like, when do you think this is appropriate to do it?
We're just getting it up now. I'm about to be told. The fees and charges advisory group will be established to undertake a comprehensive review of the fees and charges prior to the 24-25 financial year. On the 16th of
We use
May,
that
this meeting
wording?
was discussed.
Happy to use that wording.
So actually want to massage the minute a little bit. It's a fees and charges advisory group, noting that a fees and charges advisory group will be reviewing this in the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, it can't be
No,
12 months.
it has to be
It has to be
But
6.
the point of this, councillors, is that by about next February, March, we want this particular part of the budgetary process to be put to bed.
I'd say earlier.
It may be the case, but
It's February, March, we're going to be getting into ordinary
well,
budget
maybe,
discussions.
but I make my point that we don't want it to be brought to us in late June. Councillor Coleman, you
Thank
want to
you,
be a
Mayor.
seconder or?
I have a question, please.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. The recommendation says that council adopts the 2023/24 schedule of fees and charges. It says adopt. And on page, 4, where Canalpin Facilities Caravan Park, washing and dryer machine to be advised. How can we adopt something to be advised? How's that work?
Very good question. Must be a new term, word advised.
Loose.
Page 4.
Is that because we haven't quite determined whether the dryer is a washer or the washer is a dryer yet, or?
Through you, Mayor, it's because that particular asset hasn't been purchased yet. It will be designed to be cost recovery, so it's not like it will be part of a revenue base. And once we have that, we can then determine what would be an appropriate cost for that particular machine.
Fee structure when we adopt or resolve to
$7.
buy the machine.
It was, through you, Mayor, $5 per cycle. I think in the meantime, the dryer has been vandalised. And so we're looking at what sort of asset we need to replace it as well. And we're thinking it would be a combination dryer wash machine of some sort.
I don't know if we've answered your question, councillor. Bullock.
No.
I think if that's the only one that may be advised in the future, that may be the reason.
Mayor, does this not have budgetary issues that?
No, I would not think substantive enough. This, the washer dryer alone wouldn't, councillor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second the motion, but I would like to vary it. Is this the appropriate time to do that?
You let the mover speak. You're seconding councillor Rowntree's
Subject to variation.
motion. Councillor Roundtree, you want to go further around that before I let the seconder speak?
Mr Mayor,
No. Let Councillor Roundtree speak.
It's at the moment, just waiting to hear what councillor Peach has to say. I would just, I would have liked to have seen it prior to December. I just think we need to get this one out the way. It's gonna, and the words advisory group, it's in there. I just think this advisory group's got a fair bit of work to do in having a look at how we meet community expectations, grow communities, but also make sure council is covered as well. And I think there's a fair bit of work to do in that. I wouldn't like to see it left for February because
That's not the intent, councillor.
I know, but leaving it to 24, 25 leaves that open. I think I would like a tighter timeline on it.
Well, then you'd be changing a previous position of council.
Okay. We can't do
My
that.
point, councillor Peach is this, yes, I'm watching it. Peach is the seconder and he wishes to speak to something.
If I may seek to vary the motion to acknowledge the previous motion around the fee and charge for the Tintinara Hall, so that we adopt the 23-24 schedule of fees, noting motion, whatever that was.
I would think, councillor, that the previous fee and charge has been, that the previous item has been picked up as a separate motion. I think
Yes,
you
sir.
would open a can of worms you probably don't want to in acknowledging the previous motion. Be my short advice.
Well, previous Mayor, as long as it's picked up, then I don't have an issue.
Picked up. Councillor Arthur,
Mr Mayor, I think if we look back at the last finance committee meeting where we approved the purchase, the dryer, it actually got in there, I think it is $7 a load, whole of life, or whatever it was, a whole of life valuation of $7,000, and I was pleased to see actual motion has been changed, put in hard instead of coin, because I was going to try and get that motion changed this year, today, that it goes into a card reader, not coins. Am I correct that that's in there?
no, this is from the meeting of which date?
No.
May, and
Yep.
then ordinary council meeting? Finance committee. Ordinary council meeting, moved by councillor Roundtree, seconded councillor Maidment, that council,
Motions are very
point one, endorse the procurement of a commercial grade card activated,
Fees and charges.
front
also.
loading wash, bit of
Isn't it
order,
on?
councillor
There
Bland.
must be something.
Card activated, front loading washing machine, allocate $7,500 from within 22-23 capital budget. And we, in point two, would be endorse a $5 charge per cycle for the use of the washing machine, which is consistent with industry standards and covers council's capital and operational expense.
Yeah.
That would be what would have, so back to councillor Coleman's original inquiry. While we may have updated it to a dryer in the same process, perhaps part of the review in the next 6 to 12 months, we might review what the dry part of the washing machine costs. And have we procured the said machine yet?
Through you, Chair, we have procured the said machine. The cost is within or thereabouts of the budget adopted. The machine is a washer dryer combination and it has one card reader, and the operator or the user can select whether they want to use a washer or the dryer for the fee adopted in the meeting.
Perfect.
We want the fees and charges to amend it to put the $5 in back to councillor Coleman's original position.
Yes.
Ashley, we're fine with that, just add that instead of to be advised, please. We back to your point, councillor.
Yeah, can I just ask one other question?
Yes,
Why have the Canalpin Caravan Park fee, which in 2000, up until 2021 was $22. With all the upgrades now, we've reduced it to 15. Could you give me?
Is that a site fee or?
CEO, give me a reason why we have dropped it?
That's a probably a
Very
question we
use.
might. I thought we moved to charging for power.
Yeah.
I thought that's what we did with that, sort-
$22
and also
with the
for
powered
hot,
site before.
hot showers, I think, memory.
Through Chair, the fee is for a powered site as well as then you pay for hot water, whereas previously hot water was provided at no cost. Hot water was, well, not at no cost, but hot water was provided as part of your
Most
park fee.
Most of us provided at no cost.
And now it's provided, well, you pay an extra.
Okay, no worries.
Okay. Councillors, there's a motion there. Moved by councillor Roundtree, second to councillor Peach, that council adopts the 23-24 schedule of fees and charges with the inclusion of the $5 per cycle charge for use of the Canalpin Caravan Park washer dryer, noting that a fees and charges advisory group will be established to undertake a comprehensive review of the fees and charges prior to the 24-25 financial year.
I have a question.
Yes.
And that is that where there has been variation, and we've just done one with the Tinty Hall Dance Group, is, and I'm assuming that there will be others, as the CEO has some right to do that. Are we able to have a list of those at some point so that we're fully aware?
Through you, Mayor, the Tintanoa Hall and the agenda item that was discussed before came about because of the policy of who is charged fees and charges, not the fees and charges itself.
Okay,
So under the current policy, that particular organisation wasn't eligible. That's why it came to council. Not to do with the.
what has been waived for where would actually be quite handy to have in that some point, even if it's only once yearly.
Through you, Mayor, we can put the wavering, and we don't get many, and we
No.
can put them in the info doc once a month.
That would be,
Okay. Is everyone happy with the motion? As in the debate, are we there?
Closed.
Councillor Roundtree closes. I'll put that motion as it reads on the screen. All those in favour? Is against? That's carried unanimously. Number 6, Canalpin and District's Soldiers Memorial Swimming Pool 22-23 season review. Just a report, councillors. Perhaps it talks about how the facility's been improved no end. I think councillor Roundtree, you want to move that report?
I do want to have a couple of questions.
Mhm.
to ask. No?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Just a question
For
through you,
moving.
Mayor, what the council has done to attract more lifeguards, where we're at with lifeguards and the vacancy. Of the lifeguard vacancy.
So you may, so the lifeguards, we generally, through winter, we don't do that, but we are always on the lookout. It's a seasonal challenge for all pools from, in fact, all in regional South Australia. So it is really just hard work over the next 6 months to make sure we've got enough. And we advertise, we talk to Life Saving SA, we go through a set procedure of finding people and also advertising. You, Mayor, I'm going to look at the director here, but I think it's Life Saving SA does that. There are formal qualifications that are required. Pardon?
August.
Thank you. The director.
The
said
August,
all
September
September.
period.
I guess through you, Mayor, what that would then lead us to is that probably in starting June, July, we have to really go hard at finding people that we can train up if they don't already have that.
You, Mayor, that is correct. The challenge is that most people, it's a very part-time position and it's also for a short period of time. So attracting people who are in full-time employment or doing something else, it's generally not very attractive. So it's really, I would have to say, luck of the draw of finding somebody who's available for those very short hours over a set time frame for the year.
Hardly encouraging. Ice skating be closer.
That's a possibility.
You've moved it though, I think.
Yes.
So is there a seconder to that report? Councillor Qualman, thank you. You want to speak?
No, it's all good.
Okay, very good. Anyone else wish to add anything to it? Being nothing, you'll close.
Just acknowledging it was a very good report, encouraging statistics, and I think the committee did a really good job and the volunteers, and with that I close.
Thank you. With the motion, all those in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimously. Number 7, Murray Coorong Trail Design and Risk Management Review. The recommendation, councillor, someone wants to move that way, please. Councillor Roundtree, you're moving.
I am, but I'd like to just expand on the recommendation before it heads into a motion.
Well, you've got the floor, you.
Thank you. So at the end of the recommendation, where it says the design and construction of the Murray Coorong Trail, I'd like to add, and that should a moderate risk not be achieved, that these specific sections of the trail be brought back to council for discussion and consideration, which is actually what the Audit and Risk Committee have suggested. I think it'd be important to note that in the
Should be in the recommend.
recommendation. So, and that should a moderate risk not be achieved, that these specific sections of the trail be brought back to council for discussion and consideration.
through you, Mayor. That would be almost a given because we would need some guidance from council about whether we proceeded or not.
Feel it would be good to have it in there to look back on. Thank you.
Is there a second? Councillor Bland, is you seconding? Thank you. You want to speak to your motion, councillor?
No, I think
Second,
it's good.
second, wish to speak to it?
No, all covered. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak for and against the motion? There being none, you'll close.
Closed.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Number 8. After many years. Salt Creek southbound rest area toilet block, we're calling it, ongoing maintenance of facility. There's a recommendation in 6 parts, councillors. I'm going to take councillor Bland first because I did see her.
I'm happy to move that with a 0.7. And that council provides signage that indicates that it's supported by the ratepayers of the council, and request the travelling community leave the green footprint.
Looking at the director, as it becomes our facility, is there any DIT policies that may inhibit us?
Something around that it's got to be for their, I'll leave it as signage to those who are better at it, but indication from my perspective, Mr. Mayor, is that it should say that it is supported and cleaned by the Coorong Council, and that we request that green footprint be left. Don't throw your rubbish around.
Yeah, maybe we should just be that
I think
specific.
the green footprint's a pretty interesting statement, councillor, but
Green footprint is a fairly common symbol these days where you put a great big green foot on it.
is that right?
Mhm.
Those of us who live in the Coorong area anyway. I leave that signage appropriately to the staff, but I do believe it needs to have appropriate signage. Did end up in these.
Yeah, did or not.
So is the mover happy with that?
I'm not the mover on the second day, hopefully.
I would actually like to make one further comment, and that is, thank you to the staff and the mayor for the significant amount of time over years to sort this problem out for the travelling community.
We believe we're close to a result, councillor, whether
Mayors
it's
and staff.
exactly. Councillor Roundtree, you second that you said.
Yes.
Want to add anything?
I was just actually going to say very simply, like, I appreciate all the work that has been done by staff and the CEO and the mayor to get this to a result. And it's not the perfect result we would have ideally wanted, but I think it's a wonderful compromise. And it does help, I think the CEO alluded to it before, our reputational risk. And this actually goes a long way to helping with that reputational risk. And so I'm just glad to see it on its way.
Thank you. I direct that. Congratulations to the staff.
Definitely.
Very little to do with it. Because a lot of work's been done and a lot of work in picking up the gaps between Dew's report and DIT's ambition, I think, it has been where the work had to be done, and identifying that to the appropriate authorities and lobbying. Councillor Arthur.
Just querying the 8,000 depreciation capital. So what is the total capital value of this toilet block? Because bottom line.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, it's an estimate based on a $150,000 capital cost and a 20 to 30 year useful life. Until we understand the exact design and understand the materials that are going to be used, which we have included in the resolution so that we do go to DIT and actually have some influence on what they put there, that will then vary what the exact depreciation is. I guess the key part is the operational cost. The operational cost won't be any different irrespective of what we, what the materiality of the facility is.
Would you, councillor, be happy if the word estimated was in front of $8,000?
Well, the other thing, was, I think at the meeting was said that it would be cleaned every day. Is that right? Well, during the winter down there, you don't see many people at all on the road, and like it's not as if it's 2 k's down the track.
Through you, Mayor, all of our highway toilets are cleaned daily. It's our standard service offering. If we find that we don't need to, which, it may or may not occur, that's something we can address, but that allocation is for a daily clean.
And for simplicity in doing it, would we try and look at a local
Yes,
to do it rather
that
than?
option will be considered, absolutely.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Peach?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just have a question regarding the location. It's alluded to in the document, but is this within 500 metres as originally forecast of the township, or, and I'm sorry, I was not at the previous meeting.
Through you, Mayor, I'm not exactly sure of the location. I know that the location is north of Salt Creek, but the exact design from DIT has not yet been provided.
So through you, Mayor, will we have influence on that decision? No.
Councillor Qualman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Talking about having any influence. Point 5, it says approve council staff to negotiate with the Department of Infrastructure and Transport in terms of toilet design, including the aesthetic and to fit in with the environment. We be going to provide some photographs, diagrams, etc. And do we have any influence at all?
Through you, Mayor, first and foremost, it's a DIT facility that they will transfer to us. Their general standard is they don't actually do toilets at these facilities, but because Matt, the directors, had such a good relationship with them, and they knew that over the years, as the Mayor said, we have been working hard with both DEW and DIT to get an outcome here. They have changed their policy guidelines basically in this area. We want to influence to the level we can without being too cheeky, basically.
Oh. Anyone else? Okay, councillor Bland, you're in the position to close.
I've just asked a question before. You've asked for estimate to be included in.
Just for the purpose of making sure that not that locked in there.
I'm happy with that. I consider it closed.
Thank you. So councillors, motion is with that addition point 7 that would hopefully allow us to end up with a public toilet facility near Salt Creek. All those in favour, please. Those against, that's carried unanimously. Number 9, 23-24 Community Wastewater Management Scheme Program. There's a recommendation, councillors, there. You receive and note the report and you acknowledge the challenges encountered in the 22-23 renewal. They have been presented to you in the committee, and endorse an additional 102,000 be made available from the SWIMS reserves to complete the renewal works required, which were identified as urgent, I think. Someone wants to move that way, please. Councillor Qualman and Bland. Mover and seconder, Councillor Qualman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we're aware, we've had a comprehensive discussion at our infrastructure assets meeting, and something that has to be done, and I congratulate the relevant staff for picking up, and it's something that we're going to take the relevant action to preserve this asset and keep it up on track. So I see no harm in it, and it's got to be done. It's got to be done.
Councillor Bland, you add anything?
No, I agree. It's something that had to be paid for. We need to do it.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Be more to come.
There's no one else.
I close.
I'll put the motion as it was the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimous. Number 10, the 22-23 capital program. Only got 3 days left in theory, of the financial year anyway. End of financial year forecast. There's a motion there, councillors. To complete all the things in the program as identified. You want to move, councillor Roundtree?
Yes, I will move it.
Yeah, is there a seconder? Councillor Qualman. Yes, want to speak to it, councillor?
Oh, I think we already went through all of this at the Roads and Infrastructure Committee meeting. We
Yep.
agreed to recommend it from there, so I don't think much has changed since that report, so it's just, yeah, happy to.
Very good, councillor Qualman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pretty well the same, concur with what councillor Roundtree says. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Hmm.
Anyone other councillor wish to comment? Note, councillor Peach.
I may just make a comment through you, Mr. Mayor, that the Melly Lights project has commenced in Tingenara in the last week. I know it's saying awaiting contractor, but it's now fenced off and the items are on location.
Very good. Okay. Closing, councillor.
Closed.
I'll put the motion as it was in the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimously. Number 12, Roads and Infrastructure Committee minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of June 23, and we're at Meningie at the area school. Can I move that way, please? Councillor Arthur. Your seconder. Need a seconder. Councillor Bland. Any discussion? Start with councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. In the minutes, it says present Mayor P.E. Simmons, then Deputy Mayor Councillor J.J. Arthur. Shouldn't it really have Chairperson J.J. Arthur, after all, he's the chair of the Infrastructure and Asset Committee?
We can change it, councillor.
Just being technical.
And what we'll do is after councillor Arthur's name, we'll put chair in brackets.
Councillor Roundtree.
Mine's really just a note, I think particularly for the councillors who weren't at that meeting, which was councillor Peach, that there were some good questions asked by councillor Bland, O'Hara and Coleman. And I think the response director provided a response to was unhelpful, certainly to the councillor that wasn't there to not have those answers recorded. And I just want confirmation, is that a spot where I could have in future move that the answers be recorded? Yes, because I think we need to get better at asking answers to be recorded so that we do have them in the minutes, especially when one of us isn't there.
What I'd suggest, councillor, I don't disagree, but you will need to go through our meeting procedure around this, the optional pieces, but I would once again say the questions with notice are the preferable way.
Sure, but when they do come up and they were good answers given to, I think, quite relevant questions, it would be handy that I can't even remember the answers now, but it would be handy to have them documented so that certainly like in councillor Peach's position where he wasn't able to make that meeting, at least he can see the answers given. And I think we just forget, like in my mind, every committee I've ever sat on has recorded answers, and I get that council do it differently.
As you know, councillor, we're not like every other committee.
I
I've ever
understand
sat
that's what I just said, that I know we're different, but I think from my mind, I forget that and just assume that these are being recorded until I see the minutes and go, they're not. So I think as to my fellow councillors, we need to get better at asking for this to happen so that it is
We
recorded,
need to get better at is putting questions with notice.
and that as well.
And then we'll discuss that as a different format in a meeting procedure. And we haven't done it in action. Are we obliged to do it or optional in the act?
Through the mayor, it's up to you if you want to change that procedure through your code of practice.
Code of practice. Thank you for the words. Yes.
And you can do that when you want to, but as it currently stands, this is the process to take.
The through me, just clarification on that then. So we're talking, because this is a section 41. We can change meeting procedures to automatically record answers to questions.
That's section 41.
Because I thought it said, we were told like in ordinary council meetings, there was absolutely no way
There's to move a motion to be accepted.
on each
by the
question.
But through the mayor, our current code of practice doesn't allow for it, but section 41s are not as restricted as an ordinary council code of practice.
Well, this is for section 41s. Okay, as opposed to ordinary council meetings, in which case we have to move them for each, and just on that though, is it each question specifically or on block for all questions without notice?
Best practice probably be still to go each question specifically.
Councillor, I'll be very reticent to receive anything on block.
That's
Words,
why I asked.
the words getting things recorded in the minutes that I will use the word impolitely, council could be ambushed with,
I
would
understand.
be what would happen with an on-block omnibus motion. Governance issue we can deal with in a different time, I think. Okay, we're up to. Is that the only question you had, councillor? Sorry.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. Anyone else wish to add, this is receiving the minutes? Nothing else, you'll close. Councillor Arthur, I think you're the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Number 12, Tintinara War Memorial Hall Committee minutes of meeting held on the 8th of May. Can someone move that way, please? Councillor Peach. Councillor Roundtree is the seconder. Any discussion, councillors?
Through you, Mayor, just to note that council endorsed a recommendation that was moved in these minutes at our last meeting. In the interest of time around the waiver of the fee for Ralph Zacker's funeral as the founding member.
Council, the full council are under a waiver policy.
Sorry. Sorry, through you,
Yeah.
Mayor, at the last council meeting,
Yeah, yeah.
the council endorsed that recommendation.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yes. Is there anything else? Councillors around that? You'll close, councillor?
Closed.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Against, that's carried unanimously. Number 13, it's another group on the 19th of June, these minutes are, not the 8th of May. You're moving that way again?
So moved.
Your seconder, councillor Bland, is there any discussion?
Again, through you, Mayor, a note that following the committee's recommendation to replant rosemary bushes in the planter boxes, I believe that was actioned by staff the next day, and they're looking magnificent. And the committee asked some former committee members to consider that, and the recommendation came back from them that given the commemorative nature of the hall and the funerals held there, it was most fitting and appropriate to use rosemary.
Rosemary. Was noted by us when we went to the ratepayer meeting there that the planter boxes were very sad prior to that.
They look very welcoming again now.
Thank you. That's very kind. Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. I think we should have a break till 6:45, please. Is that all right, councillors?
I'm happy to keep going.
I would like.
Councillor Arthur, was that a yes exasperation or a no?
Sorry?
Is that a yes exasperation or a no? You didn't want it?
No, that was a little bit of pain.
How about we have a little break so that I can have a cup of coffee? Councillors,
You've been frantic.
right there.
This is so comfortable, these things.
Thank you.
It's interesting.
Unmuted, please, Ashley. Welcome back, everyone, at 6:45. Doing the agenda at 11:1. Office of Chief Executive Officer Information Report. Could someone move that? We, council, receive and note that report, please. Councillor Maidment. A seconder. I'm going to take councillor Qualman. He frustrated by getting his arm in the air. Any questions in that report, councillors? Councillor Qualman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Page 63, Canal and Caravan Parks, still none available information of attendance. I would have thought now we got the pay wave system working, we could get some statistics, attendance, or we still got some IT problems.
I'd have to take it on notice. I'm not actually sure unless the director has insight into what that might be.
No, through you, Mayor, that information is generally pretty available. I'm not sure why that's not in the report.
We can, I can circulate that out of session.
Fellow councillors just telling it's getting well patronised and it would be good to know the figures. So, yeah, thank you.
Councillor Peach, next.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you. Just a note on page 58, Tintinara Play Group outcome to be advised that they were successful in through the resourcing provided by council.
For you, Mayor, there's an update on the other ones as well. The Canalban Hub also was successful and the Meningie RSL was not successful.
Councillor Roundtree.
I don't know what page this is on, sorry, but it's basically just around the community consultation we've done. And I think it's one area that lets us down, and I'm hoping that even though it says we've done community consultation for things, that we in the future can look at ways to reach more people. And I think it was more to do with one of the reports from the CEO talking about the budget process. And we had already
Which page
acknowledged.
is you on?
I don't know what page it's on because I have not opened onto that page. It was just in my notes. So I guess when do you think we will start to look at how we communicate?
Presented with some options, I understand, on Thursday around cost savings for the budget. Methods of communicating and ways we may save money.
Okay,
But saving money might necessarily mean that we communicate better.
true. My next question was just around the meetings attended by the CEO on the 5th of May. It was regarding the meeting with DPI and potable water for Wellington East. There was any further update you could share with us?
The
on that?
board report. Yeah, so councillors, yesterday, was it? Monday was yesterday, wasn't it? The CEO, the Director of Roads and Infrastructure, myself met with Mr. David Ryan and one other gentleman at SA Water in Victoria Square. As much as a meet and greet, but to obviously push or promote or acknowledge the work they've done in around the potential to improve East Wellington's potable or make it a potable supply. We were encouraged. We were up to it. I acknowledge the work particularly of the department, our department of council in this area to get to this point now. And we were hoping that within, I will use one word my governance officers taught me, soon, very soon, we will be able to bring a proposal perhaps to council in the initial stage, but we need to understand that this has considerable financial but regulatory and public consultation processes to be undergone yet.
Mayor, financial is in financial to council.
Well, could be to council, could be to the people who receive the service. That's not known yet. So I'm just saying that we need to be aware that it won't be a simple process. And Councillor Bland may have been around when we changed over the Narung scheme to SA Water of Councillor Bland's first years of council. It was.
I'd like to say that we actually got to turn it off and they did enjoy it for a bit.
Did enjoy it, but it has more complications in a sense. Path, but at least we've got a path, I think. Short words.
And my last question through you, Mayor, was around the regional housing meeting. Is there any progress there?
That's through you. The draft final report has just come into my inbox late last week. I haven't read it yet.
Anyone else? Look like you want to ask something, councillor Cormack.
Just want to say a comment, if I may. Page 62 and the brown sign for the Pandaringa Botanic Garden, it's been discussed informally during our committee meetings about only having one sign out at Ampol there, so to speak, and people would end up out on Mallee Highway. So I thank council and the staff involved for putting some more accurate directional signs at the old Meningie turnoff. So it was good to see.
Point,
Very good.
councillors, which you'll learn Thursday, is none of this comes for free. The workshop around the budget Thursday for the ratepayers' benefit. Thank you for those kind words. It does
That's right.
identify, a lot better. I've never quite understood what the signage colour for traction is brown, but anyway, that's
Yeah.
a different debate. Councillor Bland.
Just on page 79, Mr Mayor, the Meningie Boat Ramp Jetty upgrade, which was near the Lions Park. I did bring it to the infrastructure department, the fact that boats are still getting caught underneath that. And there is a bumper there for them to come up against, but in fact, depending on the water level, which is often quite low lot lower in summer, boats get caught underneath.
Through you, Mayor, we might take that on notice.
Yeah, as for the project it is, but it does have a slight problem as weather and the barrages.
Through you, Mayor, I'm only guessing here, but maybe that the actual project is complete, but there is no other budget. And so we may have to look at what the issue is and what it costs.
Anything else, councillors? Councillor Peach.
Question through you, Mr Mayor, just regarding meetings attended by the CEO, meeting regarding potable water on the 5th of May with DPI. PIRSA?
Meeting with PIRSA.
That's why I thought I'd ask the question.
Yes.
I just had to think for a moment through you, Mayor. The Mayor answered the question about our relationship with SA Water. This is about, PIRSA are the state government body that is looking after some grants now for the Commonwealth. And we are looking at some opportunities to see whether, and it's a long shot, but whether whether the Wellington East Water Project would fall under the banner of betterment in terms of the potable water there. We think it's probably a very long shot, but we want to explore it.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Maben, you'll close.
I'll close.
Put the motion, which is the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? Number 2 is a community and corporate information report. Someone can move that way, please. Councillor Roundtree, is there a seconder? Councillor Qualman, is there questions? Councillor Roundtree, yes.
Just noting that the Canalpin Hall Committee sign that they've wanted for a couple of years. I know we keep saying it's going to happen in Streetscape. When are we expecting to hear anything back from Streetscape? And this sort of seems it just sits on that book, and might it be easier just to put a sign up? Be done with it.
Streetscape, we're looking at the director. We're waiting for their final report, which we think it should come within the next couple of weeks.
The chair, it's due to land before the end of this financial year, and I'm hoping that still be the case. That'll provide information with regards to the style guide, which will inform new signage.
So through you, Mayor, we could probably put that as one of the really quick wins.
Did remind the executive that the sign's been on the system for a long time.
A long time.
Long time. Do you have anything else?
No.
Any other councillor? Councillor Bland?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On page 83, under number 2, work health safety, and that is the property damage theft, basically particularly around the fencing at the Tintinara Airport and the near miss. Who's responsible? I guess that's our fencing, and was it just in poor condition or damaged, cut?
For you, Mayor, the property damage mainly revolved around the Canalpin caravan park and damage to the toilet facility and the dryer. The near miss at their Tintinara Aerodrome was cattle that got through the fence and also kangaroos. So that was fence, I guess, repair issue. One of the options going forward as part of upgrades to the Tintinara Aerodrome is to replace the fence similar to what was done at Meningie, but that again is a budget issue and something would look at funding.
So is that also then in line with the property owner?
Both property owner and council.
Okay, so it's a shared responsibility. Thank you. Obviously, hopefully, it's good to know nobody was hurt.
Anything else? There being nothing, councillor, you're closing. Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Number 3, infrastructure and assets report for information. Can I move that way, please? Councillor Roundtree again. Your seconder. Councillor Maidman. Questions? Councillor Qualman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Page 104, Potalic Road. There were some minor defects identified that required rectifying prior to seal. And crucial that they have these defects repaired to ensure longevity of the roads. Glad to see that was done. How are we now with Potalic Road? Is it all done and dusted or still a little bit to remain? Thank you.
Through you, Chair, there's still a 3-kilometre section at the Princess Highway end, which is in the proposed 23-24 annual business plan. That would be the final section of Potalic Road that needs to be addressed.
And if I may ask the director through you, Mr Mayor, it sounds like you're quite happy with the seal job, please.
In particular, the second stage that was completed recently is of high quality. I'm quite pleased. There's still some minor little things that we can always do better, but in general, really good final product for sure.
Yeah, that's right. I thought I'd highlight the write-up you had about the defects and how you mitigated the issue. So thank you.
Let's make a comment. That would be the best report I've ever seen of photos.
Great.
Yeah.
And through you, Mayor, I just love the photos. They just help explain things so well.
Any other questions? Mr. Peach?
Through you, Mayor, I just wonder if we could have an update, please, on the situation with in regards to bins. There's been further contact lately that I've had from residents that I've forwarded on, and just wondering where that where we're at in that process with the engagement with the operator.
They'll be getting damaged, as in domestic rubbish bins.
Correct.
Director want to have a go at that.
Look, I this issue, but I'm on page 100, but I'm more broadly asking in terms of conversations we've had over previous weeks regarding.
Through the chair, the 13 damaged bins in the months, obviously down from the month before. A lot of them were bins knocked over by the driver, not so much damaged bins. The driver was spoken to by the contractor or the principal. We had a video provided to us to show that it was driver error. And I've had a stern warning word to the contractor regarding this. This is one of those matters that position that MRLGA has spoken about with regards to a collaborative approach to dealing with the contractor from a region-wide point of view, so that we can have that, I guess, weight of numbers in addressing those concerns. 13 bins out of 8,000 to 9,000 is still a low number, but it is something that we want to address, and it will be ongoing until we can. The other factor is that bins damage are a function of the bins being, in some cases, 20 years old.
So you'd be aware that we're going to investigate that whole process or that position next 6 months. Yeah, or soon.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of responding to residents' concerns, it would be safe to say that the issues of the last few weeks have been dealt with regards to the contractor.
Been dealt with appropriately. Well, I might reiterate, as best I can remember, the bins have been around at least 20 years.
Yep.
I think there's a portion of the problem is still in that area, but we'll be waiting a report on that. Next 12 months, I think, Matt was. Yeah. At least 12. Any other questions, councillors? There is none. Councillor Roundtree's closing again.
Close.
Put the motion. Those in favour? Those against, it's unanimously passed. Move to item 12, questions on notice. Councillor Arthur, there is a question around safety barriers, etc. on the newly done Karkuma Road. Answer meet your.
Not my question, it is the people that use the road.
Is yours when your name's on it, so.
You notice about the safety barriers, so-called. Are they an absolute necessity in your design of the road, Matt, or have you got a little bit of leeway there?
Through the chair, if you want to run B doubles along there, yes, which is the function of the road and the purpose of the upgrade. You can flatten batters and remove vegetation, but the cost of that is significantly higher than the application of safety barriers. As it says in the report, it's part of Austroads guidelines. And from a road manager's point of view, I deem them absolutely necessary, yes.
Okay, just that the people who use it would say it's made the road more dangerous. Because kangaroos now don't get off the road, and there's three victims already of the ruse. So,
Don't disagree with the
but
kangaroo.
if it's a design necessity, it's a design.
Through the chair, it also stops kangaroos from getting on the road.
Sorry,
It also stops kangaroos from getting on the road.
Councillor, one of the things I think, whether we like it or not, coming is particularly if we're receiving any extra funding, particularly SLURP funding, is I think will be looked upon. We'll be far more checking of what federal funding in particular we spend in addition to our normal FAGS funding. Not meeting the current standard will be an issue, I think, in the future. To a degree, in the past, it hasn't been rigidly oversighted. As you know, forthcoming this year and the potential another 3.5 kilometres. So,
well, I know that is a standard.
Yeah,
That's virtually what their question was all about.
I know your question. I know your internal question around tree clearing and rubble pits too. And one of the more interesting parts is how the native vegetation branch really doesn't negotiate at all. So we'll get that in a different format. So that's your question. That's your answer. Questions with that? That's the only question with notice I have. Questions without notice? Councillor Wildman is the first one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question about notice is, does council have any security cameras on any of its assets, that being buildings, compounds, etc., within the Coorong Council area, please?
I will take it on notice, but my first, through you, Mayor, sorry, is no.
Councillor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mayor, I'd just like to ask what our response has been to the news that the services have been cut at the Tintinara and Canalpin Health clinics. Also, Rauken Health Centre clinic is also, I've just seen a report around that today that may also see a decrease or stoppage of services.
Through you, Mayor.
Yep.
I have a I've had a conversation with the CEO of the Local Health Network for Murraylands and Riverlands. I also sent him an email today and I'm awaiting his response, so I can't really comment on that until I get his formal response.
Right, I feel that this stage we deal with it through that sort of process, but we would need to elevate the process of complaint or objection or whatever if we don't get a realistic response, I think.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question was more around that we have undertaken a step to investigate it. And thank you for your response.
Absolutely. We just need to be careful that we understand what has been changed first and foremost before we, I won't say overreact, but react. All right, I'm still on questions without.
Follow-up question. Could we actually have a report on the usage of both the Tintinara and Canalpin health centres? H&R Centre at Tintinara, because if council, and I say it's an if, this becomes a bit of an issue around services being withdrawn, then council owns both those buildings and would need to look at where that goes into the future. So I would assume at this point in time, there's been no contact from the Department of Health in
That's what you
relation
mean.
to the
First of all, we
buildings.
don't keep statistics there because it's a premise of council that is leased to the state government. So is that your question? Have I?
So we have no way of knowing. The H&R Centre, Health and Recreation, which is,
If they booking through our system, we could tell you what that is.
I
but
doubt very much. Opinion.
If it's a function of almost like a subtenant to health, then no, we would have no insight or visibility of that.
I may, Mr. Mayor, that makes an argument about usage being particularly difficult from community if the only person who has the information is in fact the department.
Through you, Mayor, I would imagine you may be able, or we could ask. Yes, but whether it's that granular for a state government department, I'm not sure.
Anything else? Some questions without notice? Okay. Motions with notice. Councillor Peach, you moving?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moving the item for the minute action list to be marked as complete for a period of 3 months. There's a seconder. Councillor Rountree is the seconder. To speak, Councillor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm aware that a similar motion to this was brought at the previous council meeting, and I hadn't intended to bring it again. But after an issue was raised in the last few weeks around the response to a minute action list that in conversation with previous councillors from the previous term, they had not realised at the time had taken place. I thought it was prudent to bring this forward again. I think that this provides councillors with the opportunity to reflect a period of time as to the outcome of a minute action, that it is satisfactory and fits the scope of the minute.
Councillor Rountree.
Nothing further to add. Actually, no, I think it's actually useful to have that information stay available on the list for a longer. I know it's there. We can go back through previous agendas and find information. And I actually had started doing that, copying and pasting. If it could stay on for longer, it would be more useful.
Anyone else wish to enter the debate? Very pleased. You close.
So close. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? No one against. It's carried unanimously. Right. 13.2, motions without notice. Was? There is none. I'm determined. Number 14, minute action list, councillors. Anything you wish to raise? Yes, councillor Rountree.
So 22, 23, And it sort of follows on from our previous discussion. Why is the customer request reporting marked as complete when A isn't due until July? And I don't think it's been done yet.
I'm just going to let the CEO think about which one you are.
No. And it's on page, or it hasn't got a page. It's about the second one down on about 4 pages, page 9 it's on. Because the notes say that the first report will occur in July and that has been done. So
Have we got that report?
no, it's not July, councillor.
I know, but then so you've completed it ahead of time.
No, we haven't completed ahead of time. It's intended to be completed by July.
Like, I guess and for my being pernickety here, it should just stay in the, it's an open thing until it's actually completed.
Given the previous motion.
And then my second one was 27-23, which I think Matt has already answered, and that was to do with when we're going to hear something back from the streetscape project. So that's going to be.
Directors
imminent.
responded that should be soon, yes.
Yeah. That's my only two.
Anyone else? Okay. Take that as we've done that. Number, where are we? Yep, Ash, we're ready to go. Yeah, so for those watching the live stream, please be advised the meeting is about to move into confidence and the live stream will stop. For those who wish to view the end of the meeting, the video will be available on YouTube after today's meeting. We just give a second for the process to stop.